Hello everyone, welcome back. I know it's been a long time. I feel like some explanation is in order to what I've been up to. So, I've just been living my life. Believe it or not, creating content and making things is a lot of work and it gets really tiring. YouTube, doesn't pay anything until you get pretty big. And to get big enough to make money, you have to put in a lot of free work. So it can be really frustrating. That being said, I haven't been idle. Part of this is I like to explore. I like to go and check things out. Things do kind of come to me randomly through the ether. I did get some new equipment. I got a new camera. I got a new setup I'm going to try in my garage. I want to try a new format too, where it's not scripted. It's just off the cuff, talking about, vlogging about experiences that I have had recently. Hopefully I can make some better videos with my camera. I'm not very tech savvy, I've said that before, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I learn that stuff. So I wanted to talk to you about some experiences I had, supernatural experiences, Sasquatch experiences that I had this last weekend, starting on June 20th. For those of you that don't know, June 20th is the summer solstice. Not a coincidence that I planned an outing there. It was also the full moon. So the full moon, it wasn't quite full on the 20th, which was the summer solstice, but it was full that next night, beautiful full moon. So I do usually always take a trip on the summer solstice. It's a good time to get out there and interact with Sasquatch or supernatural beings or whatever you want to say. So they're kind of waking up, or I would say, I guess they're not really waking up. That'd be probably during the equinox, but it's like when they're the most active. So it's the peak of summer, and definitely a good time to get out there. So this adventure started during the winter. We went to Hood River, Oregon as a family on a family trip. And we went right across the river from Oregon, Hood River's in Oregon, to White Salmon, which is in Washington. And we stopped by a store called Margie's, and it's like a weird Bigfoot store. If you see me looking down too, I just wrote some notes so I could stay on topic here. So on that trip in December, we also went to the North American Bigfoot Center, which is in Boring, Oregon. If you guys haven't been there, check that out. It's a great place. A guy named Cliff runs it. He's from the Finding Bigfoot show on History Channel. Real down-to-earth guy. He'll talk to you about all the theories. But then, like I said, also we were in Hood River. We went across to White Salmon. There's a store called Margie's, which is a little more off the path on their cryptids, on their supernatural encounters. I picked up this flyer in December from Margie's. And this is a homemade flyer, much like my books. I mean, similar concept, local myths, local legends. I read through this, I looked at it, I fully appreciated it. I knew I needed to go back and check out some of these spots this summer. A lot of this talks about portals and different portals and places of power, along with a new cryptid I had never heard of, called the Klickitat Ape Cat. And it's like a supernatural cat that prowls that area. So great things to check out. So I picked the top ones we wanted to go and explore, and that was Horse Thief Butte, and it was Beacon Rock. So my old adventure buddy and me, Joe, my old buddy Joe, we set out to explore those spots. So Joe had never been to and again, I wrote down notes so I don't mess this up. Joe had never been to the North American Bigfoot Center. down there in Boring, Oregon. So we went down there first. We checked it out. I mean, Joe did like that place. He did bring up a valid point, though, and I do want to bring this up. Homeboy Cliff, he had 10 years. That show was on for 10 years and unlimited resources. And I feel like, and Joe brought it up, that he did not get great hard evidence. So you think about that, that is kind of upsetting that you had 10 years, you had unlimited resources, and you still didn't come up with hard evidence. That is disappointing. That does let us down. So we checked out that museum. Great stuff. They have great stuff, artifacts, castings, replicas of Sasquatch. I'll put a couple pictures on the voiceover so you guys can see some images off the internet and pictures we took and stuff. We went there. We ate at the restaurant next door. I forget the name of it, but it's great. Great food, homemade food. So go there to Boring, eat right next door at the little pub. Amazing. And so from there, we drove to Hood River. And from Hood River, we crossed into White Salmon. You cross a really crazy bridge, like one lane, crazy. And again, I'll put some stock images on the voiceover. So you drive across, we went to Margie's, because what else? You know, stop in there, see if they have anything new. And you know what? We did find something new. We found that there's a replica of Stonehenge in Washington on the gorge. And we had never known that, so we locked that piece of knowledge in our head, and we headed to Horse Thief Butte. So, oh, and I want to say one other thing at Margie's. I'm looking on here. They have some cool stuff in that store. So stop by Margie's. Shout out to Margie's. When you're in that whole Hood River area, it does feel very Tolkien-esque. Like they have old buildings made out of stone from like 1900. Great architecture. Great cinematic stuff. And at Margie's, they actually sell replicas of the Lord of the Rings weapons in there. So that's crazy. You can buy those weapons and go, you know, live out your Lord of the Rings fantasies in these epic locations. And the Horse Thief Butte does look like Rohan from the Peter Jackson movies. And me and Joe both kept talking about that. So at Horse Thief Butte, and again, nobody was there. It was crazy, but it was like a Thursday that we went there. So there is a couple different parts on that brochure I got from Margie's that name different parts. Of course, me and Joe kind of went off trail a little bit and explored around and checked some stuff out. So the first really strange place was a place that the Margie's map calls the portal. And let me see if I can try to hold this up and you can see. So this is the map in the Margie's thing, and I don't know how well you can read that, but there's an area in there called the portal. And the Horse Thief Butte, people have been using it for thousands of years, 10,000 years. There's petroglyphs all over, hidden caves around. I couldn't fit it into any of the caves because I'm too big. Joe wasn't feeling going into any of those caves because they were creepy, but just weird stuff, man. So we went to the portal area, and immediately, once we're in that area, we started feeling funny. You know, it was hot day. It was a hot day, but it wasn't that hot. You know, I did have 1 or 2 beers, but it wasn't like I had 10 beers. You know, I had like 2 beers. So when we walked into this area, we both started feeling funny, especially like me, and I needed to sit down. So I sat down there and I rested, and as me and Joe's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I just feel like weird. And so as we're sitting there, like my vision starts to get messed up. And again, this is right in the portal area, and like waves and stuff's like moving. And like, you know, I'm not on any type of hallucinogenic drugs. I had like 2 beers. It's like 80 degrees. It's not like it's 100 degrees. And Joe says that his vision's messing up too. he kind of thought it might have been like sensory overload just because there's like so much nature around and so much weird rock formations and all this stuff. I wasn't sure. It definitely was a weird feeling, weird waves. So we continue on. The next spot we tried to go to, they called it Ethereal Energy Point. So we climbed to the top of the bluff, and it's like a point that looks out the top of this butte. And we try to climb up there, and there is just like a swarm of flying ants. And just like a ridiculous amount of these flying ants swarming us. We couldn't even get close to the point. That's how bad it is. They're getting in our faces, getting in our hair. This is just a rock formation. There is no vegetation. There's no type of sustenance that would sustain these ants. And they seem to be just coming from a crack in this rock. Just swarms of these ants. So that was disappointing, but it was really strange because we didn't see any other ants anywhere. And only at that point did we see it. So also, as we got away from that portal point, our vision and our feeling just started to feel better. Like once we got out of there, climbed up out of the portal area, we just slowly, like within a minute or two, your feeling started to come back to normal, which was weird, just right away. If it's heat exhaustion or whatever, I feel like it would have taken a lot longer and a lot more hydration and rest to just start feeling better. But we just started feeling better once we left that area. The ethereal area, we were feeling good by the time we reached that point until, those swarms of flying ants. And then we had to retreat. We went back to the car. At the car, we went and checked out the Stonehenge. So the Stonehenge is about 30 minutes away on the Columbia Gorge. We were kind of thinking maybe there'd be some sort of pagan celebration because it was the summer solstice and it was a replica of Stonehenge. But when we went there, there was nothing going on. I mean, there's a couple cars, a couple old people, but nothing really significant. I did make a YouTube short of going up there. So if you want to check out the spot, look at that YouTube short. I will say it was cool. So the standing stones with the slab on top, the sun was right in the slot where it was supposed to be. And a lot of people think that the original Stonehenge was some sort of, ancient device to keep track of the yearly cycles of the sun. So that is cool. At least they got that part right. We checked that out for a little bit. The next stop we went was Beacon Rock. Beacon Rock's about an hour and a half, an hour from Horseleaf Butte maybe. And we went there. We got there. It was kind of dark. We got a campsite. We hiked up Beacon Rock. Amazing. Beacon Rock is so cool. It's a perfect blend of architecture and nature. A bunch of arches, a bunch of different, it's just amazing. And it was built in 1912. Nothing like that could get built now. And, you talk about feeling like it was Tolkien-esque. It looked like dwarves built this place. Just the arches blending in with the natural rock was amazing. And I know they must have used dynamite or something, but just crazy. Any one of those settings could have been straight from a Peter Jackson movie. So Joe and I hiked up there at sunset. We hung out there for a little bit until it was pretty dark. It's a pretty steep path. We were kind of worried about if it was pitch black, we wouldn't be able to get down safely. You're not supposed to be up there after dusk anyways. There is a gate. Fortunately, it wasn't locked. So we hiked back. We went to our campsite. That night, we went to a lookout and we watched the moon over Beacon Rock. And in the Margie's pamphlet, it shows Beacon Rock right here as like a lion. And I'll link some of the photos Joe took. Shout out to Joe. He has an iPhone. It takes great night pictures. with the moon hitting that rock, it did seem very like supernatural, like that rock could just come to life at any minute. It was crazy watching the full moon hit it on the summer solstice. Definitely a magical time. We smoked some pipe tobacco there on the lookout. You know, pipe tobacco, I always feel like is a spiritual aspect also. So we slept, we heard a lot of owls. There was a lot of barn owls in that campsite. And then we saw them the next day too. And you know what's funny is just the other day I read an article saying that they want to kill a bunch of barn owls because I guess there are just too many or something. The state wants to euthanize a bunch of barn owls, which would be sad because they're just such beautiful creatures. So the next day the plan was to go up by Mount St. Helens, which Joe and I have a location that we hiked out last year, camped at, where we heard a lot of weird noises, unexplainable noises. It's a clear cut. It's kind of by the snow park. So you go past the ape caves area, and then you go a little farther up the mountain. There's snow park, and then there's a clear cut by there that we like to camp in. And again, it's primitive camping. Nobody was around. Last year we heard some strange noises. We had some strange experiences. So the hope was that we would set up in a little clearing and wait until nightfall and then get the drop on some of these Sasquatches. And again, I should have been referring to my notes. But before we get there, there was some other weird stuff. So we went to Lewis Falls, which Lewis Falls is amazing. If you guys haven't had a chance to go to Lewis Falls, I highly recommend you check that out. So we tried to go to Lewis Falls. Apparently you need reservations and they only allow like 6 cars in there per day. So we were pretty disappointed. I did have a lead on another spot called Curly Creek, which we decided to go check out. We talked to the ranger, told him that we were displeased about only allowing 6 cars, and they have ample parking. But anyway, so, you know, wherever the trip brought us, that's where we're meant to be. So we go to Curly Creek waterfall. We look at there's like an observation deck, and we look down. It's cool. There's natural arches. It's a really beautiful spot. And we tried to get down to the base that day and the next day. Joe and I didn't make it. It was rough. The trails, if they were trails, were not good. But on the way out, Joe and I got lost. So we took a wrong turn. These are all like unlabeled back roads. We took a wrong turn. We're heading down some random back road. And eventually we flagged down a weird like truck for the air, like the super lifted diesel. And it's just this weird like wizard dude. And Joe and I tried to ask him, we're like, hey man, you know, are we going the right direction to Lewis Falls or what? And he's like, Lewis Falls? Never heard of it. He's like, stick to the left, stick to the river. And then he just lets out a maniacal laugh, like, ha da 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 da. Like, and we're in the middle of the woods. And we're like, all right, bro, like, you know, right on, brother. So he takes off, and me and Joe, it's like, that dude's crazy, man. And Joe's like, we are going the wrong way. We're going into who knows what. We were actually like heading up towards Randall. I don't know if that road would have gone to Randall or not. So we decided to turn around. We stopped in a random pullout and decided to have a beer just for, you know, prosperity, catch our breath, kind of refocus. As Joe and I were sitting there, we were talking about kind of the nature of Sasquatch. You know, could you see Sasquatch if you were in a right state of mind? Could you see Sasquatch if you weren't on a spirit quest? Could you see Sasquatch if you weren't on hallucinogenics? Could you see, you know, and I know people run across Sasquatch kind of like randomly, but you know, if you're actively looking at Sasquatch, you have to be in some sort of altered state, some near-death state, some sort of like intense emotional state, whatever it is. You know, could you see Sasquatch in that state? You know, a normal headspace or whatever. So as we're talking about it, a tree snaps in half right by us. And again, there's no wind, there's no breeze, no nothing. And this big tree just, probably about, I'd say 8 to 10 feet up, just snaps and falls. And we're just like, what the heck is that? Like right as we were talking about not being able to see Sasquatch with your naked eye, that snaps. So we go and like check it out, but we're kind of like sketchy because we don't know what caused this tree to snap. It looked relatively healthy. There was no wind. So we didn't even really look for footprints. We're just like, all right, like let's go to the campsite. But what a weird coincidence. Like right as we're talking about invisible Sasquatches or whatever, this would happen. So we head up to the spot. We pitch camp. We go down into the glade. And we're hanging out there. It's probably like 8:30. It's dusk. And right when it starts to get dark, we start hearing the weird sounds from last year. But they're a little bit different. I don't think they knew we were there. And it's like a calling. It's like a like things hollering back and forth. And now this is like on a hilltop, a clear-cut hilltop. And then there's like a tree line at the base. Okay, so we're on the top. There's a tree line down on the base. All these things are calling to each other all around us. And initially Joe thinks it's bears, but I'm like, dude, there would not be that many bears around here. And so he's like looking around, trying to spot them. I did have a monocular that it was like a night vision like thing that would magnify the scope. So we had put an apple on a stump and we had that night vision sighted in to see if something would take the apple. I've heard Sasquatches like apples. But these things are just calling back and forth around in the tree line. Of course, we couldn't see any of them. I don't know what they are. I don't know if it's an elk. I don't know if it's a deer. I don't know if it's a Sasquatch. Like, I have no idea. This is a weird noise calling to each other. We had heard them in that same location last year. So we spot in, like I said, it's about 8:30 when this starts. We hang out there roughly an hour. It's roughly now 9:30 and it's getting pretty dark. And so we kind of like, well, we're not going to see, like, obviously they're not going to come up here anytime soon. Let's head back up the trail, which the trail is super scary and it's about a mile. On the way down there, there's just tons of trees that have been like scratched by something. I'm not going to say Sasquatch because I know elk and deer rub their antlers on trees. So I don't know. Maybe it was that. I also know like chipmunks and squirrels like eat tree like bark. So maybe it was that. I don't know. But a bunch of trees on this path have been tore up and we're dying. So we're heading back up to camp. And again, Joe was really brave and he had a good idea. He said, hey, let's hide in the bushes off the path. So we got probably a quarter mile, so quarter of the way. He said, let's hide in these bushes off the path and let's see if something crosses the path. So we hide in the bushes for like probably 10 minutes. And again, now it's getting darker and darker. It's like 9:30 and like you can see it dark. And I'm like, Joe, you look forward, I'll look back. And so we're laying there and Joe's like, yo, I think I see something in the shadows. And I'm like, where? And where he points, I do see some like movement. Now, I don't know if it's the movement from the sun, the last rays of the sun coming, but you can see something in those shadows moving around. It's probably a football field, so like 100 yards up the path. And like, I thought it looked like 4 legs. So I don't know if it was this like, Klickitat Ape Cat or not, but it looked like there was like 4 legs moving. I don't know if it's the shadows. We get out the monocular, the night vision monocular, which that thing does not work worth a dang unless it's far away. I actually ended up returning it. It was not a good purchase. It did record, but you can only see things far away. So we break it out and I scan all around and it took some time. So maybe there was something in there and it got away before I got that monocular all dialed in. But whatever it was gone. We scanned around for a while. We listened. Nothing's really happening. Those weird like, and it's like this, like, Those were going on up in these trees all around us. They weren't really close. They didn't really sound mean. We kept walking, and again, we probably got about half mile, so we're getting close now. There's a big metal gate that blocks this path, so we're getting close to the gate, and we hear that same noise, but it is different. It is way closer and way angrier, like right by us, like real freaking close. And we know we're close to the gate because we can kind of like see the edge of it. And like I said, we're pretty close. And so we hear that, and I'm like, dude, that one's close, and it sounds like meaner and louder. And Joe's like, oh, dude, just keep walking. We're all right. And so we've been hearing them all night. So right when we're walking by, there is kind of I wouldn't say it's a clearing, but an area where there's no trees and just some bushes. So I look where that sound was coming from, and in the bushes, like, I don't know, man, I thought I saw a face. And I know it was dark. I know I was already thinking about Sasquatch, but I swear it looked like a Sasquatch face, just staring at us from the bushes. It was probably 7 feet off the ground, and it was like right on the edge of the bushes in the tree line, just like staring at us. So we passed by, and I was like, yo, Joe, I think I just saw a face, like a Sasquatch face. And he's like, dude, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. I'm like, we need to go back and look. And we had only taken a step or two. We did have our headlamps with us. They were in our pockets. But at the time, we had no lights. We were walking in the dark. So think about how scary that is. The moon hadn't been up yet. It was dark as shit. We were walking in this path with these weird noises. So we pull out our headlamps and we go back and we shine the lights in that area where I thought I had saw that face. And really, there was nothing there that would have been mistaken as a face. No log, no tree, no branch. I mean, it was just a dark spot where I had seen that face. So, I mean, it was definitely strange. But whatever it was gone. And Joe's like, he's like, well, what do you want to do? You want to go try to chase it? And again, it's now almost like 10 o'clock. It's pitch black. There's no trail. Just thick woods. Our night vision only works at far away distance. And I'm like, man, like, you know, we're not going to catch it. Whatever it is probably gone. So we continue on to the gate. I will say at the gate was a weird pile of bones too. And we saw that on the way down. It was like a pile of just random animal bones at this gate. So we passed the metal gate. It was like a thick bar gate that keeps vehicles out locked. And I mentioned to Joe, I was like, hey man, you want to set up that monocular and see if we can catch something as we come out of the gate. And like at this point, Joe had kind of had enough. He's like, man, let's just get to camp, cook dinner. We hadn't eaten dinner. You know, it's almost 10 o'clock. And I was like, all right, man, I'm feeling that. And so, you know, we're both kind of freaked out with the sounds, and the sounds are still going on in the woods, and the loud one, and I thought I saw that face. So right as we come around the corner, we hear something hit that gate, like super loud. I can't even do it. This is my rack, but just hits that gate loud as heck, just gong. And I was like, hey Joe, did you hear that? And like at this point, he didn't want to go back. He's like, dude, I didn't hear nothing. And I was like, something hit that gate. He's like, dude, you know, it's enough. Like this is enough for the night. And I did feel him, you know, whatever hit it was probably gone. But like, what a strange experience. So we go back to camp. We cooked dinner. We watched the moon rise, and that was the full moon. It was beautiful over Mount St. Helens. All night, I heard those weird howlings back and forth in the tree line. And again, we're camped in a clear cut, and nothing really that I know. We scanned with the monocular a couple times because again, it worked good at far away. Nothing really came up, but just howling all night. I mean, it was a strange experience. There was more to it, but nothing really supernatural. This video already is long. So if you like what you heard, make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to try to get some more videos going this summer with this new camera. I'll even try to take some outdoor videos with this camera. It's much better than my phone camera. I actually bought a vlogging camera. But like and subscribe, check out my books, check out some of the other videos, and we'll see you guys next time.